So Anthony mentioned I've got kids. I've got 5 children. And at the 4th, my wife said, okay, this is enough. You got to go to the urologist. And I said, okay. So I made an appointment in Philadelphia because I live on the Jersey Shore, but I wanted to go someplace where they did this thing all the time. I didn't want to mess around with someone where this is unfamiliar territory. So I get signed up, I wait, to get the date locked in, and of course I get this big speaking, request with a huge amount of dollars assigned to a big honorarium. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta cancel my urologist. I gotta go do this speech. So about 2 months later, my wife's pregnant again. And she said, enough is enough. When I have this baby, you better go get this taken care of. So I was trying to figure out why this kept happening. So I go in, and they line us all up, every curtain between us, and doctor comes in. He said, oh, I see you're a Kennedy. I said, yeah. Well, we have some residents in training, and we were wondering, would you mind? And then, I looked down, and there's about 30 young people staring at me. I'm like, do I advance medicine, or do I protect my pride? So, of course, I still am an addict, so pride rules out every time. And, anyway, so he took the inventory. Tell me, what are you allergic to? I said, penicillin and opioids. And he said, opioids? I've never heard anyone say they're allergic. Well, what happens when you take opioids? And of course, I got this throwaway line. Well, every time I take opioids, I break out in handcuffs. And he's like, that's funny. I said, seriously, doctor, that's my fatal illness. If I don't treat that, nothing's going to happen. So he said, okay. So, of course, I'm coming out of the propofol, and I find myself going like this. And it was, of course, a couple Percocets. And then, now that the fire is lit, he hands, they come around and they hand me a prescription for, 30-day supply. So I was like, oh, geez, should I tell my wife? Do I tell my sponsor? Oh, I need to do this. So I finally get back home, and my first wife saw it, took them right out of my hand. So, and this has happened over and over again. I just can't tell you how many times I was putting a ping pong table together for my kids, and thing, started to fall apart. I made the mistake of trying to catch it, pinched my finger and hand, and of course, we had blood everywhere. I went to the emergency room. Same thing happened. I'm allergic to opioids. Next thing I know, wound care, doctor gets moved around, all these other emergency room patients, and I get the prescription. But my point is that when I was the author of Parity, I was still, like as most Americans and our medical system, totally in the dark about how these are chronic illnesses. And so what ended up happening to me is I would end up going to detox on my Christmas vacations, because I figured no one's going to ask me